I hope this has helped you. I hope this podcast has challenged you, put you in a situations or circumstances where you challenge yourself. I think that's the hard place is we can get stuck where we are and we can be okay with that. Talking about last week, insecurity, that's some place where a lot of people get stuck and we just hide it, push it down, don't talk about it, and get really good at just not addressing it. But that's a problem. Um, and I want everybody who listens to this to be in that place of really self reflection, to constantly in a place of wanting to grow, not being satisfied. That's hard. We live in a world around us where people are just stuck and satisfied, where we have ignorance that runs rampant and people are just satisfied with it. They've gotten lazy in getting information. They've gotten lazy in being just okay with the status quo, and that's just it. And I'm going to talk a little about another word today that I think occurs a lot in people. But first, I want to challenge you. I want to encourage you. I want to ask you if you could be a part of this show and help us in doing one of three things, preferably all three. But I would love if you would follow, download, review. Take the time, follow the show, and download it. It takes 2 clicks, and it helps with numbers somewhere. Somebody sees this that wouldn't have seen it before, puts it on a list, and somebody says, hey, maybe I should check this podcast out. Maybe this is something that could help me too. And the last is review. It takes a couple more seconds for you to leave a review, but to honestly say how this podcast has or has not helped you, because that will either A, help somebody else find it, or B, help us find somebody else by realizing maybe we need to adjust, change, shift, whatever it is. Because deep down, all of us can get, as today's title, good at the art of complacency if we're not careful. If we're not challenged to grow, if we're not challenged to change, we can all get lazy and sleepy behind the wheel. Think about it from this perspective. As we talk about complacency, I'm going to give you the definition and we're going to jump right in today. We're not going to hang out and mess around. We're going to talk about this word because I think it's something that so many people struggle with silently, don't even recognize, because we get good at doing what we do. We put the thing in cruise control. Even in our gifts and our talents that we get good at, we just can just get doing it easily and just straight ahead, not worrying about advancing ourselves, doing more, shifting, going bigger, getting satisfied. And I am as guilty as anybody. I think, if you look over the course of this podcast, early on, I started out and then I got complacent with, I'll do it here, I'll do it there. And then I started doing my sermons. And I know, right? This is weird. Somebody's on a podcast telling you how they failed and just calling it out. If you'll find out, if you spend any amount of time with me, that's who I am. I'm not afraid to talk about it because I have to grow. And through the testimony and the journey of my own, hopefully it challenges you to not get stuck in the same place. And over the course of last year, I had somebody say, hey, yeah, we can post your sermons, but are you going to do more podcasts? And it really began to push me and challenge me. And it stretched me a little bit beyond what I was comfortable with because I could just put the sermons, and that's good. It's good stuff. It's good content. I don't have to do anything extra. But sometimes it's that extra that takes us to the next step. It's the extra that somebody's waiting for or needs, and it's not for us. So I want to talk about complacency today. Complacency, the definition is this: self-satisfaction. And there's the struggle point. I could say nothing else. Because the problem right there is the stem of every issue that we'll have if we don't see we're called to do something bigger. If we are called to serve and help others. If we're called, even in the things we've struggled with and overcame, it's not for us merely to overcome them, but overcoming them positions us to be something for somebody to help, to be that shoulder. If you've been strengthened in areas, it's so that you can be helpful for somebody in that same area, so they don't have to go through what you went through. It's breaking the old mindset. Remember, you had the old folks that said, I had to walk uphill in the snow in my underwear 2 miles. So the only way you can succeed in the life, the only way you can ever get to a place where you know and value this life is you have to do the same thing. I think that's broken. Why should I have to learn the same hard lessons you did if you can teach me what you learned in the middle of that. Now, I will say there is a value that it comes with fighting the hard battles, walking uphill both ways in the snow, whatever it is. But to force somebody to do that because that's how you learn the lesson sometimes limits them, because you can teach them the lesson and allow them to expand on it in a different way, to grow in different ways and not have to spend the same amount of time. Because if they go through it the same way you did in the same amount of time, guess what? They'll end up just where you are, right where you are, just like you. And there's never going to be a place where somebody grows beyond you. That's the true heart of a leader. If you're a leader in your business, if you're a leader in your family, it's not that you are preparing people to be as good as you, to go as far as you. You are truly preparing people to go beyond you. That's a true leader. A true leader is this: it's not a lid, it's a launch pad.